Hey Ray, how are you today?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself? Exciting day yesterday?
Yeah, yeah. It was good. And I'm liking this warm weather. It's all right with me.
Yeah, me too. I'm not my cold weather days are gone. Where I can avoid
Yeah,
it.
me too. Yeah, I'm originally from upstate New York, up near Lake Ontario,
Yeah,
and so I grew up. It was yeah, that's where the 10th Mountain Division is up there. It's pretty crazy how much snow they get off that lake.
yeah.
So I'm very thankful I don't have to deal with that anymore.
I actually used to work for uh, when I was a project manager for KBR. Two different commanders of the 10th Mountain Division, and uh, so I was regaled with cold stories from them, but haven't been up there. I know how cold it is.
Yeah, well, people talk about Buffalo being a real snowy place, and Buffalo is located on the southeast corner of Lake Erie. My town is on the southeast corner of Lake Ontario,
Right.
and it just so happens that slightly to the east of there is something called the Tug Hill Plateau. And the Tug Hill Plateau is uh, an elevation change. I don't know how much it is, but what it does is it causes the kind of snow to come over the lake, and when it hits that elevation, it kind of goes up and dumps its snow. So my hometown historically gets I think pretty close to double what Buffalo gets as the general rule. I can remember when I was a kid, 1966, they had or 67, I guess it was, they had a blizzard, and it snowed 102 inches in 2 days.
Crazy. Wow.
Yeah. So I know, I think they average a couple hundred inches a year, just on average. And my cousins who still live up there tell me that it's really not like that anymore. It's really a lot less snow than there used to be. So I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either. No, don't let them. They're just trying to trick you
Yeah.
to come home. Don't do it.
No, don't worry. It's I will only go up there this summer. It's one of the greatest places to go because it's rarely above 75. Very rarely has humidity. Almost no one in the town has air conditioning. They don't need it
No.
for the most part. So that's a cool thing. Okay. All right. Hey, Donna, I had a question for you while we're waiting for everyone to kind of come online. Um, do you sell your pimento cheese online at all?
We don't. It's quite a endeavor with it being refrigerated. We have talked about it a
Okay.
number of times, but we're just not sure that, we would have a calling for that.
Okay. I was just curious. So
Always
I was
open for
looking
suggestions.
where I could go to get some. What's that?
Well, you're over in Greenville, right?
I'm actually in Pink Hill, so I'm about an hour south of Greenville.
Oh, okay.
I'm not too far from Kinston. Kinston's about 20 miles away. Goldsboro's about 35.
Yeah, right
So,
there in the middle of
yeah.
everything. Well, Simply Natural sells our products.
You could say that.
Simply Natural sells our products, as well as
Okay.
at all three locations, including Morehead City. And there's a place
Okay.
called the Village Market, and it's on the highway towards Kinston, but it's in Winterville.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a just real quick story on it. So I was just talking to Ray about my cousins who live in upstate New York, and they had never heard of pimento cheese in their life, and they came to visit, and we ended up eating out at a restaurant in oh, what is that town? It's a beach town right next to Moorhead City.
Beaufort.
Anyway,
Beaufort.
yeah, Beaufort. Yeah, I always lose track of that. But they have a restaurant there, and I also can't. I think it's called Carlson's. I'm not 100% sure, but they have a pimento cheese related appetizer, which we got, and they lost it. They could not believe how good pimento cheese was. So periodically, I send them a batch to keep them going up there, and they share it with their friends and stuff. They find it amazing that such a thing exists, and so anyway.
Well, if you wanted to send some, we would make it happen. I have sent some out various places, but just doing it regularly online, we just have not done that.
Yeah. Well, what I was interested in is your comments about that the majority of the pimento cheese is chunky, which is my experience, and that yours is smooth. So to me, that's a really good thing. That I can share with them, and they'll be suitably impressed, I promise you. And they had a great time with barbecue and pimento cheese when they came here. They've never seen,
the other
kind of the
part of that
insanity around here.
The other part of that I did not mention was the people who would taste who did not like pimento cheese, if they were willing, which were a lot of them weren't, probably equally as many who weren't willing to taste it as many as that were. Well, they walked away realizing they had a whole new food group because they loved it.
Yeah, my wife makes it. One quick story, and I'll stop boring everybody. But when I first started dating my now wife, I took her to the Masters, to the golf tournament. And I had been quite a few times. And one of the highlights of the Masters to me is they sell pimento cheese sandwiches for $1. And basically everyone who's there, they spend all day long buying these pimento cheese sandwiches and walking around eating them. And I had never even seen it before or heard of it. I just thought it was incredible. So I start telling my wife that, we're going down there. I said, you are not going to believe this cheese that they have down here. I don't know what it is. I've never tasted anything like it. It's really fantastic. And she looked at me and she goes, do you know who you are marrying? And she's as Southern as it gets. And she makes pimento cheese by the bucket when it's a holiday or whatever. So, I was a rookie. I didn't know. And now I know. So
that's great.
Go. All right. Yeah. Yeah. She thought I was insane. She's like, you don't know what pimento cheese is? And I truthfully never even heard of it, so what can I say? And she didn't understand why everyone in upstate New York likes hot dogs so much, which is a story for another day. So today we're going to continue on category design. We're going to go a little step further. And one thing I want to point out to you, that these videos are in the member resource section of the website. And almost all of them that we'll be going through have a series of worksheets that are related also, which you can access on the member resources. So if you really want to get into it and do the exercises and get more in depth, at the bottom of every list of videos, there's a tab for worksheets. And if you click on that, you'll see the various worksheets. The easiest thing to do is to just print them out, and then you can just write on them, because the actual form actually goes to Techstars, and we're not Techstars, so I can't get that off Techstars. I'd like to make it somehow where we get that form, but that's not happening at the moment. So I did want to point out that that is something that is available to everybody, and just about all of the categories or the subjects that they have on that member resource tab has related worksheets for anybody who wants to go in depth. And also, if anybody wants to talk about any of this stuff with me on a one-on-one basis, I'm happy to do that. I think I posted my calendar link in the Facebook page, so you can connect with me and we can talk as it relates to your particular situation as well. One last thing I want to point out before we get going. This weekend is the North Carolina Farm Bureau. I think it's called the Vision Conference. I'm not quite sure what Vision stands for, but it's an event which I believe there's about 600 people signed up to go to it. It's in Raleigh at the Raleigh Convention Center. And I am speaking on e-commerce and related, particularly as it relates to farm and food and that kind of stuff. So if any of you happen to be there and you want to come laugh at me, come to the sessions on Saturday. And I have 2 sessions where I'll be talking about e-commerce and all that good stuff. So that's at the Raleigh Convention Center. And I think it actually starts, I think it might start tomorrow, Friday. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll just be there on Saturday for that. So that's so any of you are there, please look me up. Okay, so let me get to my share screen here.
I'm sorry, Dennis.
See if it works better today. I think it will. Yeah.
Please, sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I'm just looking to try to find those resources that you said about the worksheets. Where exactly can I find those again?
Yeah. So if you go to acceleraterural.org, that's our little website that we're not supposed to have, that's separate from ECU, that was built by students who, whatever. And we have a tab, you'll see member resources, and click on that. And you kind of scroll down the bottom and you'll see Techstars Entrepreneurs Toolkit. So can you see my screen here?
Yes, thank you for doing it on there. Yes.
So here's the screen, and you see member resources.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes up to a page that looks like this. If you go below the calendar, you'll see member resources, and there's Techstars Toolkit. And it pops up, and then you can see the different categories or the different subjects that they have. Okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So let's see here. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and start with the first one. We're not going to do the trailer, so let's give that a shot.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Damphouse, partner at Category Design Advisors. Today we're going to talk about
that. Hold on one
category
second.
design
Let me,
best
turn
practices.
the sound on. Be helpful. For some reason my sound doesn't work as well as I would like it to. I'm not quite sure why.
Hey Dennis, I think we were able to hear it.
Okay.
I think you were able to hear it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought I was okay.
You that want to roll your own project. We obviously do it for a living, but a lot of companies can't afford to pay us what we'd like to command. So we're going to show you how to do it, and hopefully you can work with your team and
Can
create
everyone
your own
hear that
category.
okay?
So before we start,
I'm
how
not
many
hearing it
people
for
in this
some
room
reason, so.
walked in here today
Luckily, I've
thinking
seen it before.
category design is about messaging and positioning? Pretty common. Category design is not marketing. But category design is not positioning and branding. In fact, if I'm talking to a company, especially if the CMO calls me first, and they start talking about messaging and branding and positioning, I basically say, give the book to your CEO and we'll talk in 2 weeks. Category design is a company strategy, and CEOs see that. And if you remember, marketing is traditional, compete with your competition, say why you're better. Our software is this much faster than your software. Category design is about marketing the problem. You market the problem, then you worry about the solution and communicate that. And if you don't set yourself aside as different, you're just another player in the market. And that's what category design is all about. You're creating a new place in people's minds to put you, and a new way for them to realize they have a problem that maybe they didn't know they had. It's company strategy. Kevin went over this in the overview presentation, but essentially most companies focus on product design and company design. Adding category design to this actually treats all the other aspects of running your company in a way that you focus on category. Every decision you make, whether it's a marketing decision or an engineering decision, even a hiring decision, category is going to give you a different way to position your decision making in a company and running a company. It's making decisions. When we talk to potential clients, it's funny, they look at the contract and they say, oh, what are you going to deliver to us? And it's like, oh, well, we're going to deliver a category name. We're going to deliver a point of view. We're going to deliver a category thesis. We're going to deliver a lightning strike plan. And the biggest deliverable is going to be helping you make decisions. And they always think that's ethereal. They're like, you're going to help us make decisions? But every project we've done, and yesterday was a great example, company just acquired another company. First time the executive team was in a room together, the whole day was nothing but making decisions. And those decisions are going to lead you to creating the best category you can create.
So where do we start?
Two people in a basement come up with an idea, write a little demo code, go to AWS and create a prototype, and then they say, what are we going to do? What's our mission in life? Start with, this is in the book, start with Dave's 3 questions. This is Dave Peterson, one of the other co-authors of Play Bigger. And Dave's 3 questions are pretty straightforward. Essentially, the first one is, what problem do you solve? Second, if you solve that problem, what is the category? And third, if you build a category, how big is it? So let's look at it. First thing you want to do is focus on the problem. A lot of people focus on the solution, but what you want to do is focus on the problem and think to yourself, is this a market insight, a technology insight? Uber was a market insight. We are sick of riding in dirty, stinky cabs. They don't come by when I need them. How nice would it be if I clicked on my phone and actually got a car to show up for me? Technology insight, VMware. We have all this computing power sitting in our IT centers. What if we could harness that and create multiple virtual machines? Technology insight. And then lastly, what's the emotional aha? What will your customers understand and be felt like they're getting punched in the gut, that they have a problem they need to solve? And if you think that way, you're going to end up being able to focus on the solution in such a way that you're going to develop the products differently, you're going to communicate to the market differently, because people understand their problems. If you're having to educate them on your solution, they're not listening. Here's a great example. Bill Gates. In the late 90s, and I remember when it came out because I wanted one, they announced the tablet. And all the tablet was a notebook computer that you flip down and you had a flat screen and you could touch it. And the way he communicated this to the market was, you can walk around with this and you can do things on it with your finger. Then you had Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, when he announced the iPad, he essentially said, look, we all have computers, we all have cell phones. There's something in the middle. And that new category is the iPad, is the way he introduced it. It's on YouTube, you can watch it. But what's interesting is the iPad is still a flat computer that you manipulate with your finger. But it was focused on consuming media, reading, watching videos, just quickly while you're sitting in your living room, picking it up, looking at the news, or look at your calendar for tomorrow. And it took off like wildfire. He focused on the problem. You have a clunky computer and you have a little phone. What if I give you something a little bit more comfortable to work with? Still just a tablet. Bill Gates missed it. Second of Dave's question, what is the category? So a category is a container where people store the problem and solution that you've mapped out for them. And those cognitive biases actually cause the category to be ingrained in their thinking, and therefore they're more inclined to buy your products. The category name is not that important to the whole process of cognitive biases, believe it or not. Category name should be utilitarian. People should be able to use it. If you create a category called Intelligent Security IT Specialty Platforms, who the hell's ever going to say that? And if they acronymize it, you're never going to know what it means, right? Whatever that was, ITMSBC, whatever. So basically, think of the category name as your best attempt to label your category. It should be good and concise, but it's not going to end your project if you're trying to create your own category. Here's a perfect example of something simple and obvious. Noise cancellation headsets. It says exactly what it does. Everyone knows what a headset is. It cancels out the noise. And if I said to you, what brand of noise cancellation headsets do you buy? Most people in the room are going to say Bose. And that's because they established the category. Don't lose sleep over developing a category name. We just did a project. It went 3 months. We like to come up with a name kind of in the middle of the process. We didn't come up with the name until the day of the lightning strike planning. It was just getting in the way. And if it gets in the way, it'll prevent you from thinking through all the issues that take you to the category point of view, which we're going to talk about. It's just a name. Here's a tip. This is something we do in projects once in a while. If you're stuck on a category name, or your co-founders and executive team are sitting in a room and everyone's debating what makes sense, hand out yellow stickies to everybody and say, put down 5 words that you think are, should influence a category name. Have them do it, everyone writes them down. Say, okay, now rank them from 5 to 1. So everybody ranks them. They choose the word they thought of first. It always puts a 5 in. Then take those words, build a spreadsheet. And if a word is ranked as a 5, put that word in 5 times. If it's ranked as a 2, put it in twice. And then do that for all the yellow stickies and keep building this spreadsheet, and then copy it into a word cloud generator. And then you look at it and you can visually get some creative ideas on what words might make sense. Here, connected is important, intelligent is important. What's interesting is the word that the client was focusing on was advertising. And this exercise caused them to throw it out the window. Trademark. Everybody wants to protect everything they do. IP lawyers live in big houses and have big boats. Category design, you don't protect it. It's a gift to the world. You want your competitors to use your category. If people don't think of the category as just a prolific common thing, then it'll be yours and you'll be the only one that has it. And sure, Google will put you at the top every time, but your competitors and the analysts and Gartner, they'll never create a magic quadrant titled my category name if it's trademarked. So come up with something general and think about your competitors. What category should we create that's going to be different? You're going to be able to educate the market, and you'll eventually, because of the way category design works, you'll become the leader. But if you protect it so much that nobody else wants to touch it, then you're going to fail. You'll fall on your face. Now, if you have a lawyer or if you have technology that is very protectable, it's IP, you're just, whoops, falling on your face when you tell your lawyer, we don't want to trademark this or register it. There's a process called provisional trademarking. So this is the out. If you got an investor that demands you to do this, file a provisional trademark application, then just put it in the drawer. And in 3 years, when your competitor goes to try to register it, you can pull it out and it's yours. How big is your market? So in the book, there's a concept called your suit size. You wear your suit today, your software does something for advertising, and it does it for consumer marketing. But what if your application someday could also do it for business-to-business marketing, B2B? That's the suit size. You put the suit on today that fits, but what if you made it a little bigger and grew into it? That's what the concept of suit size is all about. So don't restrict your vision. If your universe is this big, but it could be that big, create a bigger category. A $0 billion market, VCs love that. A $0 billion market means nobody else has figured this out yet. That's the kind of market you want to go after. So you've come up with a category. What do we do next? You want to mobilize your whole company, your ecosystem if you have partners, and you want to go out and do what we call a lightning strike. And some people misunderstand how the book conveys lightning strikes because they talk about really elegant, marketing campaigns, big events. Lightning strike can be simple. It can be 5 very significant people that you want to get in a room together, and you tell them about your story, your point of view, and you drop a press release on PR Newswire. You bought dinner and you spent $700, right? You can go the other way around and you can hijack a show. You can get the biggest booth, advertising Wall Street Journal. You'll spend $500,000. You can get just as effective, because if you do that show and you end up with 5 clients, you could have had a really nice dinner and ended up with the same 5 clients. But a lightning strike is the concept of setting the category agenda and starting the conversation. Get people to use your taxonomy and your language. Get them to tell your story. And once you do that, the word of mouth is going to grow. Lightning strike and mobilization is setting a flag on the hill. It gives everybody in your company a destination, a goal, something to march to. It's a process of changing the way people think. When you think, the example we used earlier, if you're thinking advertising and you need to be thinking something different, what is that different? Think about what that different might be. So here's some examples. If you want to change your audience, your employees, get them to change from their old way of thinking to a new way of thinking. So you might look at something. Can we increase revenue? Can we be more relevant? But the key is to shift people away from their existing thought process. If they keep thinking, and I'll go back to the VMware example, if they keep thinking, oh, I'll just buy another computer, I'll put it in my IT center, get them to think, no, I have idle computing power, I'm going to do a virtual machine. So you get people to shift, we call them in the book Frodos, from to, and get that shift happening with everything you communicate. I'm going to talk about process and timing of a project. Now, this is somewhat based on what we do when we're working with a client, but you can take the same formula and run it through your company. Essentially, we start with, and the way we do this project, this takes about 3 months. But start with a discovery process. Come up with general questions that you might have from the book. Use Dave's 3 questions. Give it to your trusted advisors. You could have one of your board members, an investor, your executive team, co-founder, a key player that always contributes good ideas. Have them answer Dave's 3 questions on their own, and then compile the results and have everybody share the results and see where they lead you. Next thing you want to do, focus really heavy on the problem. Think it through. Think about what people really think their problem is, and don't think about solution until you have nailed the problem. Marketecture. Things like a category blueprint, an ecosystem, or your persona study. Think about your vision. What's your roadmap? Then go in and think about the name. At this point, you've done a lot of work, a lot of homework. You should start to get a feel for what your category is going to be and where it's going to go. And once you've done that, then you develop your story. Everyone here has probably put together an investor pitch deck. The pitch deck can flow from the POV. Everybody's heard about storytelling. Storytelling's old school, POV is new school. Mobilization, putting together the lightning strike. Get your whole company, your whole market, get the analysts that cover your area, get everybody heading towards the agenda and the story you want them to tell. If you focus on this framework, you'll end up working it through the same way we do, the same way the book illustrates. And if you're stuck somewhere, if you're on company POV, and you say to yourself, ah, God, go to the book. The book actually has an index. Everyone forgets that. So look up what you're stuck on and go back and read about it. Go to our website, go to Play Bigger's website. There's a bunch of information out there. Sample POVs are out there. So marketecture stuff, we're going to talk about each of the examples. First one is a category blueprint. And the blueprint sets the agenda and the requirements for your category and establishes what the problem is by illustrating it graphically. People learn through listening, by doing, or by seeing. And that's where the blueprint comes in handy. This is a category blueprint. Company's called Replicon, and we're going to show some examples of their work. But they're a time clock company. In factories and businesses where you go in, you say, I start work, I'm clocked in at 8 in the morning. Boring industry, right? What they realized is time is a very valuable asset for businesses. People are a valuable asset. And they were collecting all this information about time. And what they did is they applied machine learning to their time information that they gather, and they create what they call time intelligence. So that category is time intelligence. It interfaces with all the different aspects of time tracking. It applies different technology to it to come up with insights, and basically you end up with a bunch of business recommendations. So a blueprint's just a nice graphical way to represent your category. It also becomes, in most cases, a nice marketing asset, something to put in your investor deck. Build out an ecosystem. The ecosystem is it's again graphical, and it also is a process, but the ecosystem documents sort of the flow of your business. Here's an example. This was in the book. Essentially, if you look here, they talk about there are different areas they interface with, the agencies in the marketing industry, customer development. So it's illustrating every connection of your ecosystem and the things you interface with as you conduct your business. Understand your persona. Has anyone ever done a persona map before? I think it's funny, they always name everything, you know, like Marketing Maggie, you know. I just always chuckle about that. Who are you talking to? And you're gonna change, when you create your point of view, you're gonna then create a messaging Bible from that. And knowing who you're talking to is highly important, because you're gonna tell the story differently if you're talking to an investor, or if you're talking to a customer, or if you're talking to the customer's CEO. HubSpot has some incredible examples on their website. Just Google HubSpot and the word persona, and you're gonna find templates and slide decks and videos. They talk all about it. But essentially, here I should have used the example Marketing Mary. But you're basically mapping out everybody's, you know, concerns, what problems they have that are unique to them, and it allows you to think differently about your category to make sure you're addressing all your different concerns and people. Know your vision and roadmap. Really important. If you're building a category today, you need to think about the promises you're going to communicate for the future. Facebook put their roadmap out, and what's funny is they didn't end up saying we dominate the world, but I think that's kind of the direction they're going. But essentially, they talk about where they're going every couple of years. And when you think about your roadmap, it allows you to translate that into your story. If you tell the story about you can buy this widget today, that's no big deal, right? A clicker. But if Logitech told this story about this widget a couple of years ago and said, what if you could move your widget around and it moved your mouse on the screen? That's what this clicker does, which is pretty cool. What's your point of view? So basically, a point of view is a story. It's an emotional story. You want to appeal to people's instincts and their gut. The POV communicates what your whole category strategy is about. When you write your point of view, write it like you're telling a story in a bar. People call it your elevator pitch. I haven't told my story in an elevator ever, but I've told my story in a bar 1,000,000 times. Tell your story kind of like you've had 2 martinis, right? A little buzz opens up the creativity. Ernest Hemingway said, write drunk and edit sober. When you're putting your POV together, don't talk about why you're better. That just compares you to competition. Always be different. You want to establish the emotion of the problem, talk about the ramifications of not solving the problem, introduce your category and your solution, and then articulate why you're different and can solve it in no other way that anyone else can solve. Here's a point of view example. This is Replicon, the company we were just talking about, time intelligence. So when you're creating a point of view, it's kind of like when you were taught how to write a story back in school. Create a flow, right? A storyline. What we do is we start with the problem. Time tracking was old, clunky systems, blah, blah, blah. What are the ramifications of not doing anything with time tracking? Time goes missing. You don't know if people are cheating you on their overtime, etc. What's the vision for the future? AI can make this a more valuable thing to the company. Time can become valuable. Time can be an asset. And then what are the outcomes, the value of using the solution? If you map this out in a very simple way, think of it as a story, 100 words, 200 words, 100 words, 200 words, you end up with a nice short 2-minute story. This is the Replicon point of view. So a point of view, it's a written story, and when you're done, it should feel like that 3-minute video explainer that people put on their website. So I'm going to just read it and walk it through for you, but I want to see if you think of yourself as a business owner that actually has people that you track time with. Point of view is a story, and it's emotional, and it introduces the category and lets people know why they should join it. So here's Replicon's point of view. Everyone knows that time is money, but unlike money, most businesses don't know enough about their time. What did we do to turn time into money today? How much did time cost us today? Such questions are surprisingly hard to answer. Time is universal in any business. 60% of a company's cost is time. Yet there's no easy way to capture time spent and connect it to a company's work, accomplishments, events, and results. Multiple systems track time today: CRM, ERP, HR, PSA, project management. But they all do it in a different, non-connected, non-shareable way. Time goes missing because it's hard for employees to track accurately and in real time. Most time tracking features were built for the last century, tedious and sluggish, while the world changes in seconds. This makes it difficult for a company to treat time as a valuable asset. But that's exactly what it is. Time is an asset, and businesses need to understand how to best use that asset today and in the future. A 1,000-person company has around 2 million hours at its disposal in any year. Do we know what our millions of hours got us? How can we connect all of our time to all of our outcomes, analyze time, understand it, and make predictions about it? It requires a new way to think about and manage time. It requires time intelligence. Time intelligence is important to business in a way that emotional intelligence is important to people. True time intelligence is much more than the sum of static data and reports. It means businesses can connect time spent to outcomes produced and understand and deploy time as an asset. Time intelligence allows businesses to treat time the way they treat money, resources, and materials. And this new knowledge can flow back to individual employees so they can understand their own time and how they are contributing, and manage time so they are more successful, which in turn makes the company more successful. Any company that operates without understanding time as an asset is wasting time. Optimizing time, treating time as an asset, it's a competitive advantage. Getting you there is a problem Replicon solves. We've developed technology for time intelligence. Replicon built it for our IoT, mobile, cloud, and social, and AI era. It's time management for the 21st century. We call it the Time Intelligence Platform, and it liberates time from your systems and turns it into an intelligent and valuable asset. Replicon's architecture harvests time and events everywhere, in any way, and on any device. We link time to every system you rely on, legacy software, new apps, or any technology you might buy in the future. Replicon adds the intelligence layer to validate, process, analyze, and transform time into powerful information. With Replicon, you'll know how you turn time into money. and how much time costs you, and how to better use time in the days, months, or years ahead. Time as an asset is what Replicon is all about. Time intelligence is our business. Replicon, the time intelligence company. So I just ask you all, never heard of Replicon before, do you think you understand their story? As a business owner, you understood the pain, the problem, you understood the ramifications and the solution and the category. All right? My Canadian partner snuck analyze in with an S. Did you notice that?
Everyone knows that time is money. But unlike money, most businesses don't know enough about their time. Time.
Okay. Now we have a little bit of a framework for figuring out if you need to create a new category for your product, or would it help you, or to maybe a subcategory is a better word for it, depending on what your product is. But the process that video outlines, I think, is helpful. It's the point of view, I think, is really helpful as an organizing concept. And I think if you look at the worksheets there, or you watch that video again, or the videos plural, you can come up with an idea, a way of trying to turn this into a process for you. So that's my intent with this whole category design. All of this is leading us toward branding, which we're going to be talking about in the near future, and all the aspects of branding, particularly as it relates to your products, your brand promise, your brand message, your communications with your various people, whether it's customers, suppliers, vendor, potentially, all of the above. So that's the whole purpose of this is, it's one thing to be a brand. It's helpful to know if you are competing in a category that you create, or a subcategory, or are you participating in a category that is well known and well thought of, in terms of well understood is a better word. I think that's a decision you have to make, and hopefully this will help you do that. Any questions or observations that folks have?
This is Ray. I have a question, Dennis. If you you come up with a viable category,
Uh-huh.
but you would already be seen. I know with our products, I've watched stores struggle as to how they are categorizing us. So, for instance, we have a product that is usable with applying it as a topping, using it with pancakes, using it with ham, putting it on a sandwich, and if you so they're going to work to put you in their category, their existing category of pantry or jams and jellies or condiments. And how do you break away? So say we wanted to, sitting here thinking about it and listening to the pitch on time. So we say, well, we are preserving timeless recipes for people that have less time. The heritage is not passed on lovingly as it was when my grandmother would pass it down to my mother. By the time we get to me, I'm like, take my 7 kids, sit down, shut up, and eat what's in front of you. We don't have time. Hurry up! You got to get to the baseball game.
Yeah.
So, how do you make that break with the category managers in existence? With how do you make that pitch?
Well, I think, and this is something that I don't want to be, pithy or offhanded in my response, but I think it's really important to understand, who are you talking to, right? Who is this message that you're talking about right now? Is it the person who buys for a particular store chain and has a particular worldview of their categories and their product and how it fits in with their overall strategy, which frankly is traditionally what many of us have tried to do, because we want those stores to carry us on their shelves. We perceive that as a really critical thing for our future. At the same time, if you're communicating directly with people who believe what you believe, whatever that is, whether it's the Southern heritage or some other hook is the word I'll use, then it's about communicating your value, not your category, right? Not your, you're not trying to please a buyer at Lowe's Foods, for example. You're trying to communicate with customers that you reach through other channels, whether it's direct online, whether it's through fair or some other. I mean, there's all these various channels, and one of the challenging things is coming up with the messaging that makes sense for the channel. And so one of the things that you have to take a look at is, who is it that you're trying to convince? Who is the audience of your message? And that drives everything. That drives your packaging, your behavior, your positioning, your category. Like one of the things I did, Ray, when I first heard about you and saw your products, I did not know what a fruit spread was. Okay, I knew what jam and jelly, but the fruit spread, while I conceptually felt like I understood it, but what I didn't realize, that fruit spread is no sugar added to fruit. Okay, well, to me as a diabetic, that's a really important thing for me to know, right? So if you're communicating to people like me who are diabetic, I may need to understand more about fruit spread and what's in it for me as a person, who has to watch his sugar intake. That I'm just using that as an example. So the answer to your question is, who's your audience? What are you trying to do? And that will determine a lot of your messaging. What you say to a category manager at a grocery store chain or a Walmart or whoever could be, germane to their particular situation. It may not necessarily be germane to all your markets that you're trying to reach. So that's kind of my off the cuff response to that.
Yeah, thanks.
Anyone else? One thing I did want to throw out, just to give you an idea of creative thinking. So we have some folks in here that do jams, jellies, fruit spreads, and it occurred to me that wouldn't it be cool if you did a promotion with Kime as a peanut guy? So a PB&J promotion where you cross promote each other's products. Nothing goes better than peanut butter and / jam jelly fruit spread, in my view. So that would be kind of a cool campaign to do, a PB&J commercial or a social media campaign or even a live show showing recipes for combining products. And that also would work for those of you that are in other categories. If you have, I'm just going off the top of my head, if you have some kind of sauce or spice, why not work with a farmer who sells grass-fed beef or sells pork or whatever, chicken. Cross-promotional is a really effective way. And since many in this class have, I'm going to argue, a point solution, they have a product in a category, right? Jam, jelly, sauce. Think about how it might be applied and give some thought to partnering with folks who have the same sort of interest that you do, but maybe have a different product or a different service that you can combine. So I think that's kind of occurred to me the other day. I would love to see a peanut butter and jelly social media campaign. I think a lot of people would get into that, and you could get bakeries involved. You could get lots of different people involved, peanut people and so forth. So anyway, just neither here nor there. Anyone else have anything that they want to throw out?
Yeah, so I'm in for that, Dennis. Cookies, thumbprints with jam, or any other kind of cookies with jam, or PBJs. So
Yeah,
guys, if you're interested, I'm more than willing to talk.
fantastic. Yeah, I will say that one that really lends itself well to a demonstration, right? Whether it's in a kitchen or some other type of environment where you can walk people through making a cookie and adding the jam or whatever, or preparing a meal and adding your product at the appropriate time. That's a really good thing. Anybody a restaurant or chef, or anybody that has a YouTube channel or has a show going on, or you could invite them to do one. We're going to help you get set up with your live streaming here very shortly. These are all things that you can do that will, help people apply your solution, right, in the context that they can understand. Donna, did you want to say something?
Sure. I was out and about yesterday and dropped by one of my merchants that sells our products and picked up some soups that he has there in his provisional market. And this weekend, we're planning to do a little promotion of that with the Super Bowl coming up, as well as more cold weather on the way.
And Valentine's Day, don't forget.
Exactly. So, sometimes we'll do a video right in the store with the store owner, and it really just brings a lot of likes to our page and a lot of business. Then I also, I'm particularly talking about Washington, North Carolina. They have, and many other areas as well, have Facebook pages that just kind of work with their area. And so we'll post those types of things on our Facebook, and then we will share them to those local Facebook pages, if you will. And it really does make a huge difference. It makes folks feel good about supporting local.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and speaking to Kime specifically, since he does a lot of live streaming, I can see he's writing notes like a madman. Some good stuff here, right, Kime? Yeah, I think that once you see how this live streaming e-commerce works, that not only will you get likes, you will actually get sales directly from your live event, and that's pretty cool. And I think you all will have a lot of fun with that. But I really like the idea of leveraging these channels, these relationships, and helping people apply or recognize the vision that you have of how to celebrate Valentine's Day. Maybe instead of just buying a box of chocolates or a dozen roses, maybe you need to make some cookies with Ruth's jam or Ray's fruit spread and so forth. So this is all good, all good stuff. All right. Well, that's all I have for today. Unless anyone else wants to jump in, please do. I'm as I said, I'm available one-on-one, when I can to help you specifically in your situation. Don't be afraid to look through the YouTube channel. You might find some things that are specifically addressing your particular situation. It might be a past class, a past guest speaker. We have a lot of content in there. So that's something to keep in mind as well. All right. Well, we'll see everybody on Monday, and hope you have a good weekend.